If you're in your young 20s and are in a long distance relationship, keep watching. This video is for you. We were just not only living in different places, but we were living different lives because I didn't understand what he was going through with military training, and he didn't really understand what I was going through with RA training. And that's definitely one of my regrets from when we were long distance. And I wish we had just been a little more intentional about finding things we could do in common, even when we were apart. Hey, welcome here. I'm your big sis Chloe, and I'll be sharing some of my life experiences with you, including today's topic of long distance relationships. And I'm hoping you're able to learn from some of my mistakes and have the most successful long distance relationship experience as possible. The first tip is to make a routine. This could look like scheduling time to talk each day or each week, depending on your availability, or it could look like watching a specific show or a movie together at a certain time every week. The thing to keep in mind is finding some time during the week where you can both touch base and have that connection point. For me and my husband, then boyfriend, when we did long distance, we were states apart, like the whole country basically. And so we were in different time zones. So this was really important for us to specifically set aside time each week that we both had time available. And so we were just not only living in different places, but we were living different lives and having different focuses. So we didn't have very much to even connect about from our day-to-day life because I didn't understand what he was going through with military training, and he didn't really understand what I was going through with RA training and all of that kind of stuff. So that's definitely one of my regrets from when we were long distance, and I wish we had just been a little more intentional about finding things we could do in common even when we were apart. The second tip that I have for you is communication. This one seems obvious, but trust me, it's a big one. Because you can be talking every week or even every day and still not really be communicating. So the key here is to communicate the good things and the bad things. It can be really tempting to kind of shove aside all of your anxiety and your worry and the stresses from your day or your week and to not discuss those things. Because, you kind of want it to be a happy time. You don't get to see each other. So you want the time you do have to be good. You want it to be positive and light. But the problem with that is things will pile up in the closet or in the corner, and when it all comes out or when you finally talk about it, it's like this monstrous pile of anxieties and fears and worries and doubts and stress, and then it's like overwhelming. So you want to avoid that if at all possible. So share what's actually going on. You don't have to go super in depth or have like a whole 3-hour therapy session with your significant other over FaceTime on a Tuesday, but you can just say, I just really didn't have a good day. You're still communicating the reality of how you are and what's going on in your life so that they don't feel this unspoken tension. The third thing I want to touch on is prioritize. So this ties back into the first tip a little bit where I talked about making a routine and talking with your significant other certain days each week. So what I mean by prioritize is that when you do make plans or you make that routine with your partner, keep it. I know it can be way easier to make plans and keep plans with people when they're in person and they're right there and they're asking you, so do you want to do this thing tonight? Or, oh, hey, like, do you want to go to Wendy's or whatever it is? It's so easy to just say, like, oh yeah, sure, like, and forget that, oh no, it's Tuesday and it's almost like time for me to go talk to my boyfriend. Like, that could feel less exciting in the moment. I know I said it, sometimes Wendy's trumps boyfriend, just sometimes. The reality is, like I said, maybe you only have 1 hour that aligns each day where you're both free. If you don't protect that time, you're going to lose it, and you're going to lose out on that connection. And if that becomes a habit, you will see a drastic change in your relationship, and you will go from feeling connected to feeling distant, and that can create a whole other spiral of issues. The key here is to really protect the routine that you make together. And if you have plans, even if it is just a phone call for 15 minutes or video chat or watching a TV show together, keep those plans. The connection point is still essential to the relationship. Side note on this subject is to make sure you're including your significant other in big life decisions. So if you're contemplating changing your major, if you're thinking about moving schools, if you're thinking about joining the military, for example, have those conversations, especially if you are moving towards marriage with this partner. If you're thinking about building your life with someone, you should be able to trust their advice and input, and you should also be able to trust that they are not going to try and control you for their personal gain. Fun fact, this is actually something I was not very good at when we were first dating, and I had to learn this kind of the hard way. And I got better at it through college, but so just as a sneak peek, you might be hearing more about that sort of thing in a later video when I talk about our early years of dating in high school. The fourth tip is less of a tip and more of an encouragement to you. I want you to remember to dream together. This might seem cheesy, but the reality is that long distance relationships typically are not forever. It's just for a certain period of time, and once you get through it, you guys can be together again, and it will be so much different. And trust me when I say that having a long distance relationship not only strengthens your relationship and your communication skills, but it makes the time that you do have together so much sweeter because you worked through the hard years of long distance to get here. So don't be afraid to dream of that together, and look ahead to when we live in the same town again. We can go get ice cream on a Saturday on the spur of the moment, or we can go to Wendy's together, right? So there's a million and one things you can do together in person. But one of the things you can do together long distance is dream for the future. You can also make those short-term plans. I know my boyfriend, now husband, visited me several times while I was away at college, and that meant so much to me, and it meant so much for our relationship, for me to get to share a piece of my life with him that he was unfamiliar with, and vice versa when I was able to visit him when he graduated military training school, and I got to see some of his friends and where he had been living and understand more of what his life had been like during that time. So all to say, long distance is possible, and trust me, if the relationship is worth keeping, you can do long distance. Not to say it will be easy necessarily, but if you follow these few tips and probably some other things that you'll find work specifically for your relationship, it will not only be possible, but edifying and strengthening to your relationship. So thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something. If any of this is sounding at all relatable or helpful, I invite you to follow along for more tips navigating young adult life, dating and marriage from a Christian perspective, and anything else that has to do with life as a young adult. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Okay, I'm gonna jump right in. Oh, I don't need to say that. No, that's not even right, because there was about a two or three. It's been only a few years. But yeah, so for example, or in the corner or the back of your mind, you want to avoid that. It just completely takes that out of the picture. No, it doesn't. Yeah, so there's that. is priority. No. Okay. So you do if weathered the challenges and all the things. So if you like Wendy's, go ahead and like this video and follow for more prime Wendy's content.